This week, we are getting extra spooky as we go deep into the metaverse. So let's just go ahead together as a people and check it out. And welcome to a spooktacular Sunday. That's right, it is Halloween, and we are still here talking about the tech and gaming news. And you know where tech and gaming intersects in sometimes a bad way? That is Facebook, because they have gone through this whole thing and rebranded the company. They renamed it. The parent company is now Meta. So this was the thing that was grabbing all the headlines this week, is that Facebook has changed its name to Meta. Now, this doesn't affect the social media platform Facebook. That's still going to be called Facebook. But they feel like they're taking the company in a new direction. Now, some people might say that they're doing this to get away from the Facebook name so that way they can make money in other avenues because, you know, they kind of messed up a lot of stuff with privacy and just people generally not trusting the company and people saying that Mark Zuckerberg's an Android. And after watching that hour-and-a-half presentation about the metaverse, I can kind of see where they're coming from. Look, no one's edge up is that crisp through a whole video. I'm sorry. What barber is he going to? I need that phone number. Why is every time he's on camera, he just has a crisp edge up? I don't know any human being whose hair is that crisp all the time with an edge up like that. Like who? He is not human. He's an android. That's not what I'm here to talk about. We're not here to add some speculation. I'm here to actually talk about Meta and the metaverse and why this is actually a good thing. And it's probably not going to be for the reasons that you think, because it really has nothing to do with Facebook or Meta, the company, at all. So I did watch the whole presentation because I saw the headlines, and I don't go off of the headlines. I always look into things further. So I wanted to watch the whole presentation myself. Of course, I did also look at articles to research everything because sometimes things are left out of presentations. But either way, the one thing that I had going into it that really made me mad was the fact that they rebranded Oculus to Meta. So the Oculus Quest is now going to be called the Meta Quest. The app is going to be renamed like the Meta Quest app. And I was like, that's so stupid to get rid of the Oculus branding. So I already went into watching it with like kind of a negative connotation, but I left feeling a little bit better, not about the name, but about the future of VR and AR. And that is always something that I've loved. So the metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg spent an hour and a half talking about was basically shaping AR to be the future for like business and gaming and kind of making it more of a social space, like bringing real life objects into VR and AR and vice versa, bringing AR objects into real life. I mean, that stuff could be cool. It doesn't personally appeal to me, but the main takeaway from this was that VR and AR have a future. And even though there's a lot of things that I don't like about Facebook, a lot of things that I've spoken about in the past, I'm glad that someone is putting money into the technology because I don't want it to go away. I want it to be around for gaming and other applications in the future. So the fact that this new parent company is focused on VR and AR and kind of bringing all these experiences together, to me is good because hopefully that brings more competition to the space and they'll bring more developers to the space. It's like every now and then we get these big projects, like we got Half-Life Alyx. We just had RE4 released on the Oculus Quest 2, and they're few and far between because I just felt like VR has lost a lot of steam. There's still great stuff being made. There's a lot of smaller stuff, but it feels like the money isn't going there to fund projects anymore. And that's what I've been worried about. And they're even putting $150 million aside to kind of fund developers, like train people how to develop these VR and AR applications. So they're really putting money into VR and AR, and that's the thing that I like about it. And that's aside from my personal feelings about the company itself. They did have a part about privacy. I did laugh a little bit because they talked about how they're building all this stuff around privacy first, and I was like, y'all haven't done the strongest job in the past or ever. So I don't know if I believe that, but I know you had to mention it because people don't trust you. But that's why I'm excited about the metaverse. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. They teased some stuff, so let's break it down. The first thing I want to mention is they're working on a project called Nazare. And they're basically AR glasses. I am interested to see what they can do with those. I mean, personally, it probably wouldn't be for me. I'm more into VR than AR. A completely immersive experience, unless there's a way to completely block out the world and be able to play games on it still, then I probably wouldn't be that interested in it. But it would be kind of cool to see what they can do with AR glasses, because there really hasn't been anything that's reached mainstream level yet. Like Google messed around with Google Glass for a few years, and it was a disaster. People were worried about privacy. They never really took off, and they were obviously too expensive to make. I think they're still working on them, kind of, but they never really reached the mainstream level, and they were never really publicly available either. They were like for developers, technically. So I am interested to see what they can do with the glasses. The other thing they're working on is a high-end VR headset. It's Project Cambria, which kind of reminded me of Cambridge Analytica. I don't know if they put 2 and 2 together. Anyway, Project Cambria, they didn't give too many details. They just said it's going to be next level, is going to enable new experiences. Who knows what that means, but they said it's supposed to be more interactive, and it's supposed to be a way higher end headset. So that is in the works. It had been rumored for a while, especially now that they really don't have the Rift anymore. They kind of discontinued it. They're focusing on the Quest. And I would imagine that it's going to be a standalone headset still, with the option to connect to PC like the Quest. It's just going to be way more powerful and more expensive. So I am interested to see what they do in that space, because separating the company Facebook, the VR stuff has been really good. And as long as I've had an Oculus Quest, which is now just the Meta, and an Oculus Rift, or the Meta Rift, forget the name. As long as I've had an Oculus headset, the software support and everything has been really good. So I'm sure it'll be fine, because as long as I've had one, they've been owned by Facebook. I'm really interested to hear more details about this high-end headset. So those two things are a little bit far off. I just kind of wanted to touch on them. The next thing, though, we don't have a release date for it, but they're bringing San Andreas to the Quest 2. I really wish that they would make some of this stuff backwards compatible with the Quest. I actually gave my first generation Quest to a friend recently. It'd be kind of cool if they could have some of these experiences like RE4 and San Andreas. I'm curious to how they're going to do this game. I don't know if it's going to be like a first person where you're controlling the character, or if it's going to be a diorama style game. Personally, for a game like San Andreas, I think a diorama style game would be better, where you see everything in 3D and you can kind of pan and tilt the camera and see all the characters up close in detail, versus first person. It'd be kind of weird for that game, especially with the animations and stuff, and the driving and the flying and parachuting and burning questionable crop fields. But they're doing it. They're bringing San Andreas to the Quest 2, the Meta Quest 2. Now, the final thing that I wanted to touch on about Meta, this is the big thing, that one of the other headlines, they're finally getting rid of the Facebook login requirement for their headsets. So since Meta is going to be its own separate company and its own separate thing, they're building everything around this metaverse. It gets cringy after saying it for a while. They're building everything around this metaverse. So they're eventually going to do like a Meta login that's not going to be tied to a Facebook account that you can create. They'll hold all your purchases and all your data for like your Oculus stuff or your Meta stuff. Like technically they're renaming the Facebook portal the Meta portal. So it's probably going to be a login for those type of devices that aren't directly connected to Facebook, because why would you want your login to be tied to a social media account, whereas if you decide to delete it, then you lose all your purchases? It never made any sense in the first place. They had a separate Oculus login that already existed that they got rid of to do this, and everybody got mad, and now they went back on it. But I'm glad they're going back on it. They didn't say when it was going to be available. They said it's still working on it. He said, oh, you know, we heard the feedback, and we're going to do this new login. So that's good, because who knows? I might delete Facebook at any time, and I don't want my purchases tied to this stupid login, like for a social media account. Like imagine if I had a bunch of stuff, like my credit cards and stuff, tied to MySpace. They'd be gone, all gone. It's a horrible decision. Don't do that. Overall, the things I'm excited about are the new high-end headset. I'm curious to see what that's like. Of course, San Andreas, and then the login, because I'm creating the Meta login as soon as possible and getting all my stuff not associated with my Facebook account. They haven't said how that's going to work, if you're going to be able to transfer your stuff if you already have a Facebook account linked to like an Oculus account to a Meta account, or if it'll just become a Meta account. There'll probably be more details in the future. Because of the fact that they're focusing so much on VR and AR and innovating in that space, I am excited about what they're going to do with Meta. Not so much about Facebook or any of the other stuff around it, just specifically that they're putting money into this space. But let me know what you think about the Meta stuff and this rebranding, or however you feel, even if it is related to the social network platform, Facebook. Just let me know in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell button to get notified when I drop a video. And always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.